apparently it is Valentine's Day, so happy Valentine's to all you lovely guys and girls, couples, non-couples, whoever. Happy Valentine's Day. But anyway, breaking news today, at least 3 people detained in Nancy Guthrie's case. I don't know about you, but everything seems to be always focusing on Nancy Guthrie's family and her being apparently kidnapped and whatnot. So it kind of like deters you from what is really going on today with all the Epstein files being exposed and all that good stuff, and P. Diddy, and let's just see what's going on. So I'll let this play. Don't forget to hit subscribe, like, comment down below, and hit the notification bell. It does help me a lot. It's free, and it's always going to be free. And let's move on with the show. Check it out.
Less than 2 miles from the Nancy Guthrie home in Tucson, Arizona. 3 people are detained, we understand. They are being questioned in relation to the disappearance of Savannah Guthrie's mother. Joining us now live from the scene in Tucson, Arizona, Fox News correspondent Max Gordon. What's the latest, Max?
Hey there, John. Well, it's been a very active night here in the Tucson area for law enforcement. A lot of developments in the Nancy Guthrie case. Let's get you up to speed. So this all started for us. We first heard wind of this at around 8:30 p.m. local time. That's when we were getting some rumors that there's some law enforcement activity very close to Nancy Guthrie's house. We drove on over here. It was only about a 5-minute drive, about 2 miles driving, and that's where we saw a very heavy law enforcement presence. That's where we later learned 3 people were detained, 2 males, and then 1 woman who is the mother of one of those 2 males, detained at a house in this neighborhood. This is a very upscale neighborhood. A lot of these homes listed on Zillow for more than $1 million. And since we've been here, over the past couple of hours, we've seen a lot of vehicles, law enforcement vehicles, going through this barricade. You can see behind me 2 SWAT team vehicles leaving the scene, and then several unmarked vehicles, potentially FBI vehicles, going on in, a whole convoy of them, really, as investigators comb through a house, we believe, in this neighborhood. It's unclear at this point if those 3 individuals that were detained lived in that home. It's also unclear if these individuals that were detained are actually suspects. Now, there is a second scene of interest. It's unclear if this second scene of interest is tied to the Nancy Guthrie case, but law enforcement, local law enforcement, as well as FBI agents have been on the scene of this second scene where a car was stopped in a Culver's fast food parking lot. Evidence tape was wrapped in evidence tape. 1 individual was detained in that instance, and this Range Rover, the silver or gray Range Rover, had its license plates covered, and it was then put on a flatbed and towed out of that parking lot. This is all based off of what our photographer on the ground was seeing. So a second scene of interest. Again, unclear if that second scene is tied to the Nancy Guthrie investigation. This scene behind us here, this home here in this neighborhood in the Catalina foothills, it has been confirmed tied to the Nancy Guthrie investigation. So in total, we've had 4 individuals detained this evening. Again, unclear if any of these individuals are suspects in this case. Law enforcement has released very few details. Earlier in the evening, it appeared that the Pima County Sheriff's Department was going to release a statement to us, and then several hours later, they said that essentially they just had a law enforcement investigation, operations going on, and that the FBI had asked them to not release further details. So still a lot of questions about what exactly has transpired this evening, how all this relates to the Nancy Guthrie case. Again, everyone just hoping that Nancy Guthrie is still alive, but at this hour, many, many questions remain. Back to you.
All right, thanks very much. Max Gordon reporting live there from Tucson. Let's turn now to Fox News contributor Ted Williams. He's a former D.C. homicide detective, also a defense attorney, joining us on the phone now. Ted, we just heard from Max that they are not saying there in Tucson whether this Range Rover that was seized from the Culver's parking lot is related to the Nancy Guthrie investigation. However, everybody who was there, or a good number of the people who were there, are wearing FBI jackets. I can't imagine that the FBI is looking into too many other crimes in the Tucson area right now. It would seem that Range Rover may have something to do with the Guthrie case.
Absolutely. I have to believe that this case of Nancy Guthrie going missing is the number one priority on all law enforcement out there. I've heard, and you heard our last commentary about the questions. What are the questions that I have for this investigation? I'd like to just share that with you if I could.
Please.
I'm hoping, first of all, that there's a press conference tomorrow and that they will clear up a great deal of information that the public should be given. For instance, this investigation, one of the things we don't know, John, is really what was the motive. We know that an 84-year-old woman that has medical illnesses was taken from her home. We don't know really if it was for a ransom, meaning that someone was asking for money. We know that two alleged notes, one sent to KOLD, a television station, and one sent also to TMZ. These two notes were asking for money, but we don't know the authenticity of those notes. This is information that has not been shared with us. We don't know if any ransom has been paid to anyone. These are very much question marks. John, you and I have been around a while.
Okay, so let me jump in there and do my 2 cents. First of all, why are they contacting TMZ, which doesn't make sense why they're contacting TMZ, and TMZ is so-called Hollywood, and what do they got to do with it? Why are they the first ones to get the ransom note? So that doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. And some other radio stations. So shouldn't that go to Guthrie family first, not the TMZ? So that doesn't make sense. And two, once they crack the case, if this is true, which I think it might be true, this is probably orchestrated or hired through the powers that may be to deter or sidetrack from what's really going on, which is the Epstein case. That's just my 2 cents. So look over here, it's over there. Look over there, it's over here. It's like a magic trick, you know? So my 2 cents is I think that this is what they're trying to do. It's a wild goose chase. Catch me if you can. And that's not the real story. But if it is a story, all eyes on Nancy's abductors and deterring us away from what's really going on with the Epstein case. If that is true, then my spidey sense are correct. But let's check out this other segment with.
Unlike other team management apps, when it comes
you know
to
what I mean. So
Connect Team's all about
commercials,
accurate payroll without the blame.
Let's bring in my next guest, who, along with other local news outlets, has been receiving letters allegedly coming from someone who knows the kidnapper, even the kidnapper, potentially. Let's bring in TMZ founder Harvey.
There you go, Harvey.
This gets weirder and weirder day by day.
It does get weirder, but why? What does he got to do with it? Why is he up front and center? It doesn't make sense. Why is he the main focal point to get all the information out? Why? Because TMZ is Hollywood? Nah, man, it doesn't act right. Doesn't even newscasters find it a little bit weird. But
this
anyway,
morning we wake up and we find out nobody's been arrested, nobody's in custody. But we had a ton of police activity just 2 miles away from Nancy Guthrie's house, potentially within this 2 mile radius that the police have been asking for doorbell dash cam video. First, give me your quick observation on where you think we are this morning. Does this feel like a letdown?
Well, it's a letdown because they haven't caught the kidnapper and they haven't found Nancy Guthrie. I was in touch with the law enforcement involved in this early this morning, and I asked them, is this in any way tied to the information that we have given the sheriff and the FBI? And I was told no. And, you know, as for, you know, what happened, it doesn't seem like they've kind of connected the dots. It was interesting. Yesterday morning, I sensed something was going on with law enforcement, that there were meetings. They have these kind of morning briefings that were going way longer. I just happened to find out about one of them, way longer than they normally did. And, you know, I figured something was up, and they were also playing everything really close to the vest. It may have been this, I don't know. What I can tell you is that the FBI is keenly interested in the ransom note that we received. And I know this to be a fact. They are keenly interested because obviously, I mean, we supplied them with it, and you can kind of connect the dots if you will, but I am 100%.
So
they are extremely interested in this ransom note, and they're also interested in the person who has now sent us 3 emails saying in return for money, they will lead authorities to the kidnapper and Nancy.
let's dig into that for a second, because this is fascinating. This person claims to know where she is, or at least who the kidnapper is, and is willing to pay $50,000, or is willing to receive $50,000, half of the reward first, and then half of the reward later. Have you heard from this person since we saw the activity happen overnight? Are you expecting to hear from them again?
Well, if you take him at his word, I am not expecting him because he ends his email to us. Let me just read it if I can find this part. He said that there's going to be no communication, that they are done talking. So he says, let me just find this. I apologize.
And he said that before,
I
right?
did say yesterday was my second and final attempt, but you upping the reward to discredit me is a lowball move. 3 strikes and you're out. So he's saying that he is not going to get back to us again, but he said that the time before and did.
Would you put up that money just to see where this goes?
I think it's really inappropriate because based on what we know, we could be interfering with law enforcement. They are not just sitting back. There's a reason that this ransom, this $6 million ransom, has not been paid, and there's a reason why the Guthrie family and or law enforcement has not paid the money. I don't know what that reason is. Personally, I'm puzzled, but it's very clear to me that they could do it if they wanted, and if we got involved in that, I think it would be highly inappropriate and could actually impede the investigation. There's something, obviously there's a lot they're not telling us, but I do know they're really interested in this, so we're just kind of following along and passing the information on. A couple of things that really stand out in this email, this last one, is that he says that if the FBI gives them the first $50,000 payment in the form of a Bitcoin, they will immediately give the name of the main individual along with his information for you to track. Interesting that he says main individual because that suggests there's more than one person. He also talks about the fact that he feels this could impact his own freedom, which also makes it sound like he's worried they might implicate him in this kidnapping, that he's kind of close to it in some form. But he ends, and this is particularly interesting, that the main individual that he says he can lead them to, he said, be prepared to go international. Wow. So again, if this is authentic, he's got to be talking about Mexico because where Tucson is, it's not that far from the Mexican border.
And I appreciate that you're saying if this is authentic, because you yourself, you're not sure if this is legitimate, this could be a scammer, because people are coming on TV left and right and wondering, have you become a honeypot for scammers, whether they're overseas or whether they're local. But you're telling us the FBI is taking these letters seriously.
We've gotten, other emails as well that are pretty easy to discredit. They are taking the ransom letter extremely seriously, and they are taking this letter asking for the reward in return for identifying the kidnapper. They are taking that seriously as well.
Okay. Harvey, thank you for sharing that letter with us, and any more information you get it to us as quickly as possible. We are trying to figure this all together. Thank you. Thanks for joining us.
All right, so yeah, that was Fox News, and basically Nancy is still missing, and they have another ransom note. I'll give it to Harvey from TMZ, and like I said, why TMZ? Maybe because they are famous and it is Hollywood, and it feels like we're watching a movie. It's Hollywood scripted, and it's really hard to tell to see who's telling the truth or not, because it is scripted. It's reading out for script, and Guthrie is a prominent news anchor, and it deters it from what's really going on, which is the Epstein case. So if that's true or not, and whether this is to divert this, which I think it is, we'll see what happens in the next couple of days to a week to a month. We don't know how long it's going to be, whether she is alive or not. I don't know. This camera is everywhere. Why isn't there any more footage? If she was captured, there should be a car, video, there should be some snapshots, there should be aerial shots, there should be like CCTV shots everywhere in the corner. And like they had that one picture, one video footage of their surveillance cameras, which is the guy with some weird ass mask and some suit and gloves and whatnot, and you can't seem to find that person. I don't know, man. It's very, very peculiar how they can catch a lot of murderers out there, and for some reason they can't seem to catch Nancy's capture. Putting two together, it all boils down to money, or it's just another diversion from the who know what and who know who. And let's just see what will bring in the next couple of days, and how long this is going to last. So it is quite interesting, though. And like I said, there's so much things going on, and it's really hard to figure out who's telling the truth. So let's check this segment out right here with
from global pandemics to civil unrest, natural disasters to medical emergency.
Law enforcement swarming a Tucson home overnight, just 2 miles from Nancy Guthrie's place.
This comes as it has been a full 2 weeks since she was last seen.
2 weeks now.
Let's bring in retired FBI supervisory agent James Galliano live outside of Nancy Guthrie's home, and Darren Porcher, former NYPD lieutenant, former NYPD undercover narcotics officer, and U.S. Army veteran. Both are outside Pima County Sheriff's Office. So, James, we've been talking to you all morning. What is the latest, and what is your analysis of the latest?
Well, last night, Charlie, the statement that was put forth on social media by the Pima County Sheriff's Office essentially said, at this juncture, yes, there was police activity at a location that's just several miles northwest of my location here in front of Nancy Guthrie's house. And then basically stated that on the advice of the FBI, there would be no more messaging regarding this police activity. Look, I think it tells us a lot. It tells us that there is an uptick now We've got close to 20,000 leads. All those leads have to be run down. The vast
20,000 leads.
are going to end up being nothing. But you still want to encourage the public, if you see something, say something. So all that's being run down right now. I think you're also going to see, and I'll predict this, a return to Nancy Guthrie's home behind me. I still think that there are things that law enforcement feels like that they can possibly get out of another run through there. And what do I mean? Well, the last week or so, we've been walking around this neighborhood, taking a look also at the structure and her property from the drone footage, and just seeing where there were other potential entry points. These style homes, they're built sturdy. They have that, the southwestern flair. It's Latin American and Spanish architecture. I still am not convinced that the intruder or intruders came in through the front door, a heavy oak-type door with a rejas, which means bars in Spanish, which is like a ventilation grating system. So I have a feeling there's going to be more work done in this house here. They're going to come back here and try to retrace the steps of whoever or however many people made entry into her house that night and then ended up ultimately abducting her.
So, Darren, give us your take. I mean, you've been at the sheriff's office there, and I presume there hasn't been any activity this morning. But based on what we saw overnight, particularly that Range Rover that was seized, that now is presumably a crime scene, where do you think this investigation is headed today?
Well, speaking from a position of conjecture, we really don't know everything based on what's been introduced to the public. But when we look at it from the geography, that house where Nancy was living, or where Nancy lives, is 2 miles away. And it takes you roughly 8 minutes to drive from that house where the warrant was executed on to Nancy's house. Then when we look to the Range Rover, could this be a possible vehicle that was used as it relates to going to the location and extracting either both Nancy and the abductor? That's a possibility. One of the things that the investigators are going to do is they're going to look to the geofencing at the location to connect the cell towers to the individuals in question that were possibly taken into custody to see if they were in fact at the location and were they communicating. I think this is all speculation, but at the same token, it makes a lot of sense. It's somewhat relevant.
James, you said earlier in a segment that you agreed with some of the other investigators that I asked this question to, that this was a home invasion gone wrong. It certainly would look like that when you saw that creepy video of the masked guy outside the home. He looks like a home invader, and yet why would a home invader take a body out of the house? Even if it goes wrong and Nancy Guthrie gets injured and this isn't the way you expected it to go, why remove the body? Why not just get out?
Yeah, Rachel, it does. I notice a lot of people in my business are looking at this now from the perspective of the ransom note or notes quite possibly not having any type of nexus to the actual abduction. Yeah, that's not a standard tactic for somebody that's going to be involved in a home invasion. Why are you conducting a home invasion? You want to go in and you want to rob a family. Right. You're going to do it with violence. You're going to come in, you're going to storm the place, you're going to take things, and then you're going to leave. But again, going back to the motivations, for profit, right? Or was it for revenge?
Right.
Now, Mrs. Guthrie is an 84-year-old woman, not the typical type of target we would see. She's not necessarily a high net worth person or target where the extortion was going to be based on money alone. So could it just been a situation where the house was cased and it was an opportunity to rob an old lady? Possibly. If you look at the terrain behind me, Dr. Porcher and I were cops and agents in New York City for, over 2 decades each. This is the exact opposite of that. The topography here is arduous. It's rolling, undulating hills with creosote bushes and agave plants and cacti. And during the day right now, you look at it and you say, wow, you can see the house directly behind me. At night, Rachel, and you know this from Arizona, it gets so dark you can't see your nose in front of your face. So I also think that there'll be more scouring of the terrain and the topography out here. Folks looking for something, anything, a discarded cigarette butt, another glove, that kind of thing. All those things are going on, while also the technology part of this, the telemetry, the geolocation, where you do a geofencing and find out what cell phones, what personal electronic devices pinged in this area, and then trying to connect it to one other piece or link that will put them in touch with another suspect or subject.
Well, James, if there's revenge, it doesn't mean it has to be revenge on Nancy. It could be revenge on the family, on one of the siblings. There could be other motivations. It's also perplexing, but it's been really interesting talking to both of you because you are among the most experienced in this, and we will continue to check in.
Okay, so my 2 cents. My reaction on this is that, yeah, you're right. Somebody must have called and said, hey, this ransom note, let's grab Nancy Guthrie, because her family has money, and Nancy daughter, Savannah Guthrie, used to work, I don't know if she still works, for one of the alphabet soups there, and now that, you know, she didn't like POTUS 45, talking lingo, read between the lines, so, and 45 and 47, and she was kind of like exploring the aspect about the Epstein files and whatnot, and apparently that was going to show like a documentary or whatnot about Epstein, which is already out there, but for her to do that, and I didn't think the powers that maybe did not like that, so they took a phone call, do this, do that. This will attract a lot of attention. See this over here, that over there. It's a whole trickery game. So whether she's alive or not, hopefully she's still alive. May God help her in this aspect, because no one wants to see anybody hurt, whether you're from the opposite team or not. The fact is that hopefully she is still alive, and this whole thing surely subsides and they do find her. If not, then it becomes going to be a very bad outcome in the end, because like we say, the opposite side don't care about life, only cares about money, power, and their agenda. That's pretty much it, and that's my 2 cents. Okay guys, so see you in the next podcast. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, comment down below, and forward to everyone you know, because I'll have more videos, commentary, podcasts coming your way on this channel. But for now, God bless, Godspeed, and we'll see you in the next one.